that the old Geek with Tools does not own an open end or box end wrench of the 10mm variety. Man, I'm made painfully aware of that in cases like this. Alright, today is the day I'm going to remove the engine. I'm going to remove all of the goods from the frame so I can get it stripped down and sanded and painted and clean up the engine exterior, make it look like something, and then put it all back together. May not all happen in this take, but gonna get started on it. May just time lapse this. We'll see. Point out that this Leatherman, my children referred to as my Swiss Army pliers, I've had since the mid 1980s. It was given to me by a maintenance manager at the place I used to work. And he almost got fired because he gave not only me, but like 60 maintenance workers one of these. And the budget folks said, "What did you spend that money on?" So anyway, he didn't get fired, but we did end up with Leathermans, and they didn't take them back. So I've had it ever since. Carried it every day. All right, something else is still holding. I got one of the motor mounts is stuck. I'm gonna have to pry it loose. Yeah. Yeah, we're still hung up on something. I see. What I need to, kind of hard to see, and I'll try to get a shot of it later. This gasket that goes between the inverter board, the control board, and the actual generator in here is it is rotten, completely rotten. So I'll have to come up with something. I think maybe coming out the other direction will work better. I think I can undo this plug. I've had it unplugged before when I put the coil on. There we go. Man, I wish I still had my old steam cleaner. It used to work perfect for stuff like this. Oh well, that's what we got for now. All right, getting set up here to do check the valve lash on that. I was just going to point out that I've started deconstructing. Took the cover off the muffler. There was some rust and stuff on there. I want to clean it up. I already scrubbed it. I want to take the paint off of it and repaint it with some high temperature paint. In a couple of days when the paint shows up. But for now, we're going to focus on this overhead valve. I've got. I would welcome any comments on this. The generic uh, Honda clone information that I was able to glean from the interwebs told me that the intake needed to be 0.005. You can't really see that, but 0.005 plus or minus 001 for the intake, and the exhaust needed to be 0.007 plus or minus 001. But I looked at the GX120 Honda, the actual Honda manual specifications on that, and it was saying intake should be 0.006 plus or minus 0.001, and the exhaust needs to be 0.008 plus or minus 0.001. At least they agree on the tolerance. So intake needs to be one of these two, and the exhaust needs to be one of these two. So let's see what we find here. Looking around the cameras, that's interesting. Hopefully we can get this off without destroying the gasket. Alright, sorry, I had a lot of background noise start up as I was recording this. I did not realize it, so I want to talk me through this. There is a lot of documentation about how to go about setting valve lash or valve clearance. Basically, we'll just make sure that whichever valve I'm going to be checking, in today's case we're going to start with the intake valve, which is on the right there. We want to make sure that valve is completely closed, so we just rotate the engine until the valve we're not working on has been, you can see the rocker arm pushing the valve open. So we'll make sure that intake valve is fully seated, closed, as close as it get, and then we're going to check, see what the clearance is between the rocker arm, the rocker arm and the end of the valve there at the top. So at this point I am rotating the engine, trying to get it lined up to do it, to be checked. I may be able to turn you back over to the regular video audio soon. I'll have to see when the noise stopped, and there was some music playing in the neighborhood. And anyway, so at this point I got the exhaust valve is obviously depressed, so that the valve is actually being pushed open. So we're ready to check, see what the clearance is on the intake side. And I think we can turn you back over to regular audio here. Hang on. So this is valve clearance or valve lash, same thing. This is, I don't know how much clearance there is. Just for curiosity, I want to keep going up. But as we're up to this is 009. There's no resistance in there at all. Make sure we just got one in here. 0.010. Yeah, easy. 011 goes right in. All right, I'm going to stop there. So we need to adjust this way back down here. So let me grab another wrench. I got to loosen this and then make the adjustment and then tighten it back down. So bear with me. All right, that broke loose. 5 goes in 0.005, understand. um, 6 goes in very snug. 7 won't go in, so we're going to try to keep it there. Once again, little geek with tools, living without a 10mm wrench spanner. Well, just unadjusted it. There we go. Get that down kind of snug right there. As much of a pain in the butt as this is, trust me, it's easier than the old L-head engines, I think, my opinion. Okay, get there. 7, I can kind of force in there. Let's take it down just a hair more. Okay. Okay, 7 won't go. 6 goes. We're going to try to keep it right there. Get this snug. Yeah, of course. 5 goes in. 6 won't quite do it. Dang it. I've opted to try to shoot for the, since this is a GX120 clone, I want to try to follow the Honda specs on this if I can. And it seems like I can. It's just getting this to cinch down without taking that 0.001 off that I don't need. There we go. There, it's in there. Snug, but it's in there. Excellent. So, I forgot to look. I better go see what the torque value is on that. Hang on. Information I have, this is supposed to be 17 foot-pounds. Seems like a lot. Not going that tight. That's ridiculous. Yeah, it's too tight now. Jesus. I'm going to go double check that value. Well, to check the Honda manual specs us out at 7 foot-pounds, so that might be a little better. Six goes in, 7 does not. All right, we're going to quit messing with that. Now we're going to roll over and do the same thing on the exhaust, but we're going to shoot for the Honda spec, which is 8008. Let me get that out. I've got a 7, 8, and I'm going to get a 9 out here just to see. There it is. Shoot for this one, but I'll take any of the 3 when we're done here. Let's roll that over and get that valve closed. Right there. And the way we know that is this just pressed the intake open, so this has to be as loose as it's going to get. I bet that was some of that rattle I heard in here when this thing was running. I'm just going to start with 9 here. Actually, 9 doesn't seem to want to go. Look tight. Look tight. It won't go. Down to 7. I can kind of force a 7 in there. Let's get Mr. 6 back out here. Wow. Can't even get a 6 in there. All right. Well, we need to open this up, obviously. I'd say it's been a while since this has been loose. There we go. Did not want to break loose. Okay, said we're going to go for one of these 3, 7, 8, or 9. I'm going to shoot for 8 because that's what the Honda manual says. That's slid. Tight. And I could probably force a 7 in there, but Try to make it right. Not snugging down too much. And that's just how these things go. Okay, 8s are perfect. And I could probably force in if I wanted to. I could get it in there, but it's really snug. I'm going to torque it and see what we got then. Eight fits pretty good. Yeah, 9 doesn't want to go now, so that's good. Valves are set. I will get the valve cover. I want to clean it up a little bit and clean. There's somebody shot some paint on here or something at some point. I want to clean that all off. I'll put it back on here and clean up this gasket. It's still in good shape, so should be fine. That's where we're going next. Okay, I got it polished up a little bit. It's not as good as I'd like it, but I don't really have a polishing mechanism or whatever. Got a wire wheel. That's about it. Anyway, torque value on this is also 7 foot-pounds, so we'll get this back, the bleeder tube, cleaned up nicely. It's in good shape still, so we'll get this back together, torqued down, and then we'll move on to something else. I like using the impact to zoom these things right in there, but given the limited amount of torque necessary on this, I just hesitate to do that. Run it in by hand. It's fine. That one's should have probably cleaned the threads out a little. Make sure it's not cross-threading, and it isn't. It's going right in. Just get these snug. And we'll check with torque. We're still set properly, and it's locked in. Get these close. Come around and do final torque on them. There we go. 3 of 2 backward longs. Okay, I think we're good. Moving on to something else. Next, I'm going to pull the shroud off. I want to clean it all up. I want to take the recoil mechanism back off of it and just do a good cleaning on this and put it back on. I'll show you around inside here how this inverter generator is a little different than your standard Honda clone. Mostly, there's no mechanical governor flyweight system on here like there is with most engines that you might be familiar with. Those of you that know, just bear with me a little bit. I want to make sure people who are trying to learn or figure this out have an opportunity to do so. The governor system on this engine is all handled via the inverter control board that's back here in this other housing. There is an extra fastener in here somewhere. There's a device that throws a pulse for timing, so it knows when to fire. Dang, I think I gotta take that. Hang on, I think I may have to take the airbox back off. Hang on. So yeah, while I work through this, there's a coil that there's a magnet, a very small magnet actually, and a flywheel in here, and so that part is pretty much the same, but it's a much smaller magnet than what you might otherwise see on such an engine. Y'all don't let me forget to oil this up before we finish up this installation. It's on you now. Anyway, and then there's a coil down here that does throw a pulse up, and it goes to the coil to produce the high voltage that's needed for the spark. And that is all handled with this little stepper motor up here on top of the carburetor. It adjusts the throttle up and down for depending on what the inverter is telling it needs. We get that breather loose that we just put back in. Oh yeah, there's another fastener down here. And that's an 8. All right. This will all be a little clearer shortly. That's the thing with doing repairs like this. You need to get things put together thinking you're done with it, and then just potentially minutes later, you're right back to taking it apart again. We got quite a ways to go on this one. I need to strip the paint off the chassis, the frame that this mounts to, and take that down to metal and repaint. Okay, now I can get to this other fastener. Alright, if you have your anti-nausea pills, take one now, because I'm about to take you off the tripod. It's interesting. Hang on, you're coming off the stand. All right, here's what I discovered previously. Here's your magnet. This little bitty job right here. And if you look carefully, I don't know, this thing's probably not going to focus because I don't have the most wonderful video equipment. But you might be able to tell that there's a rub mark right there. This was set way too close and was actually rubbing on there. But anyway, so this coil then picks up the pulse from that magnet going past, sends it up through this wire, goes right to the coil. So that's where the spark actually originates. And so timing, everything is handled by the basically inverter control. And again, there's a stepper motor here on the carburetor that handles the governor aspect of it, the throttle. And that's why when I did this, let's see, where is it? Right here. The idle adjustment was screwed all the way in before, and really all it does is holds that pilot jet in. But that's what it needed. It needed to be almost all the way in for the stepper motor to work properly. Is what I discovered. I don't know why, but that's what I found out. This is all pretty good shape. Anyway, all I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to, again, I'm going to take this recoil mechanism off there and wipe it all down, and I'm going to clean up this shroud, and then I'm going to put it back on there. So really nothing fancy to see here, just cleaning. So we'll do that, and I'll get back to you. All right, new day. Man, I've gotten quite a bit done. Before we get going here, too far along, I wanted to point out that this particular model or type of inverter generator has this is your inverter control whatever box, and when it's mounted on a frame, it sets up here something like this, and there's opening on both sides in here, and essentially what it is the flywheel pulls in the air like any air-cooled engine, blows it across the engine. It actually then exhausts out down here, and I'll show you a little bit closer in a minute, and then blows through the inverter box to help keep this cool as well, relatively. So when it's mounted on the frame, it's roughly probably about that far away. We're going to find out later because I'm going to put this all back together. I will go ahead and mount this on the frame and get an accurate measurement. And the reason I'm doing that is here's what was in there. This side attached to the engine side, generator side, and fits in there. And I don't know, this thing doesn't really focus, but this is very weather checked, fell apart, whatever. And this is the other part of it. This used to be all one device, kind of a little accordion style compression fitting in here that kept air contained so that it would come through the inverter box. Well, believe it or not, this isn't available anymore. Or if somebody knows of someplace that does have it available, let me know, because I sure couldn't find it, and I'm pretty good at searching for things. Anyway, I am getting, it isn't here yet, but I ordered one of the hard rubber couplers. It's a 5-inch coupler. I measured this. It's got a 5-inch outside diameter. The rubber coupler that you have for like 5-inch PVC tubing, or if you're going to join PVC to a cast iron, black iron pipe, something like that. I'm going to get one of those, and I'm going to trim it to the proper length. So that's why I need an accurate measurement of this gap. And I want to cut that off of that coupler. And I want to use the black RTV, which should be good to around 500 degrees, and this never get that hot, I would hope. Or this would have suffered more greatly than it did. So I will do that. I'll get that measurement. Then I'm going to take this loose, and I'm going to RTV the little strip that I cut off. I want to RTV and seal it to this side, and I'm going to just run a bead around the rubber coupler on the other side and just let it cure. And that way, when I mount it back on here, it should form, I don't know if it'll be airtight, but it should do an adequate job of keeping air leakage and forcing air on through the inverter box. And once that's done, then this will be pretty much ready to go. I will show you the tank. Well, I took the cage, the chassis, all the way down to metal and repainted that. It's got a base coat of the rust reformer, Rust-Oleum stuff paint, and then a coat of the hard high gloss black paint goes over the top of that. So it's got a couple of coats on here. This has 3 coats of the hammer tone copper color, and it came out pretty well. It's unfortunate. I did not come up with any way to get that dent out of there. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I'm just going to live with it with a dent in it. This thing is being put back together to be used, and that dent really isn't going to cause any issues. So, and then I'll clean the tank out as well. There's a little bit of rust in there, but nothing major. I'm just going to let a little vinegar set on there for a while, and then clean it all out, flush it out with some fresh fuel a little bit, and then I'll put the parts and pieces all back in there. I have a new fuel valve for the bottom of the thing. I made a new gasket for the fuel level indicator. I'd be okay with not having one on there, so that's not a feature that I really care one way or the other if it's there, but it needs to be, that needs to be sealed up. So I made a new gasket for that, put that back together, and I bought a new cap for it. So the old one was rusty and pretty dented up and things. So anyway, I'm going to set you up here, and we're going to put this guy back together and get a measurement, and then we'll take it from there. Alrighty, here we go. I'm going to put you on time lapse so you can watch the struggle. This should be fun.
Down in the corner of an old back road lives a fella whose age has started to show. Each morning he's up with the rising sun, grabbing every tool till the day is done. He's the old geek with tools, making sawdust fly, circular blade spine and sparks light the sky. From routers to wrenches, he's king of his route. Everybody knows the old geek with tools. Got a collection of spanners and a toolbox of dreams. Keeps a stack of blueprints by the coffee machine. He hums classic rock when he tightens a screw. Country records spin while he's chasing a groove. Making sawdust fly, circular blade spine and sparks light the sky. From routers to wrenches, he's king of his route. Yeah, everybody knows the old geek with tools.
I will point out that I got to tuck all this wiring back in when I got it up here, and convenient to do so, but I got to take this partially back apart. As I said, I got to take a measurement, and then when I have the rest of my parts, get the measurement, that kind of stuff, this is going to have to come off so that I can attach the new rubber air dam. I'm not going to put all of these bolts back in. There's 3 that holds it. I'm just going to put these 2 in the front because they're easy to get to. And like I said, I got to take it right back apart again after I get the measurement. So let me grab a 10 millimeter. I don't know why I don't have one out here already. Let's see if I can figure out a torque value for these. I don't know that there is one. I've not seen any in the manual. Of course, I don't have the manual for this inverter generator because they discontinued it. Alright, I should be able to get a measurement that way. Put this back on. Also point out, this came without a circuit breaker. I don't grasp the concept of somebody producing a generator that doesn't have a circuit breaker. So it has one now. I put a 20 amp in there, closest I could get. This thing should max out at around, I think I figured 16 amps or whatever. So if there's some kind of catastrophic short, whatever, that'll activate. Wish this camera would zoom in. Oh, well, it does zoom, but it doesn't focus when you do it. But so, I mentioned a few times that I did not have a 10 millimeter spanner. Well, I have one now, or at least it's marked 10 millimeter. Made by Duracell. It's actually more like a 10.5. You can see that or not, but yeah, it's not a 10 millimeter. It's a little over. So, but that was like a $12 wrench, so I guess you get what you pay for. It'll work well enough for something like this. Shouldn't round it off. Reconnect the ground, which I believe is on the other side now. It's just ground wire to the frame, chassis, whatever. Make sure the user, which probably will be me, is electrically protected. Swiss Army pliers. Leatherman's an awesome product. I'm not sponsored. This was given to me, but not in return for a review. Like I said, I've had these since the 80s, and they still work just great. All right, for now, that's all we can do. What's left to do is tuck the wires back in here in the top, get them back in the wire loom, and I will get the tank ready to go and whatever, but mostly I just need to get this measurement, and then as soon as my adapter gets here, I can cut a strip off of that, do my RTV magic, and put this back together. I pull these two bolts out down here, set this aside, get it glued, or RTV glued, adhered to the inverter box, run a bead around the other side like I said, and let it cure, and then I'll put it all back into position. Should be good to go. Then it's just a matter of getting the tank hooked up and functioning. That's it for now. Alright, I hope everybody's ready to get this project finished up. I know I am. I want to show you a little bit here before I put you on the tripod, so bear with me. When I took this apart, I think I showed you already, the air gasket, air dam, whatever you want to call it, that went between the inverter box and the actual generator was deteriorating, falling apart. And I'll throw a picture in right here of what I used to modify this thing. And so what I did was I took that and I reinstalled the inverter section and took a measurement. Well, actually, I took 4 measurements and got an average, and it came out to 14.5 millimeters of space in here. So once I got the device I just showed you, the coupling, rubber coupler, I set up my table saw so that it was just, the blade height was just barely enough to cut through this rubber. And then I set the fence to 14.5 millimeters from the fence side of the blade on the table saw and the fence itself. And then I set the rubber coupler in the freezer for a couple of hours because it's too flexible to. I just wouldn't get my fingers that close to the blade on something that was that flexible. So got it good and frozen. Brought it back out, ran it through the table saw, and I had to do one do-over. So fortunately, I had 2 factory ends. I flipped it around and got an end cut at 14.5 millimeters. Then I laid it out on a work surface, and I ran a bead of RTV, the ultra black RTV gasket maker silicone, and just ran a bead around here on this side, and just let it set and cure so that it became just a cushion for a gasket. And as soon as that cured, I let that cure for about 12 hours, I guess. And then I came back, ran one around the other side, and I had scuffed this part up with Scotch Brite to give it some tooth, so to speak. And I put it up here, and I set up a little board in here and clamped it and drew it up tight so that it held this thing against the generator face, where there's a fan in here mounted. It's very, very similar to the fan under the shroud. And so anyway, I held it up against that and let that cure for about 6 hours. And when I took the board clamp away, it was stationary then on there. So at that point, then I could just remount the inverter box back up here where it belongs. I torqued the bolts down. I think I've got those to 7 foot-pounds, I believe, 7 or 12, I don't remember now. But anyway, torqued that down, and then I ran another small bead of silicone around just to make sure that I got a good seal. So this is pretty much airtight. Now, almost, I would say nearly airtight all the way around here. So it is going to force a lot of air out through this inverter box. And with that, that's what I got done with it. Of course, I had done the carburetor some time ago, a few days ago, and the air box. I still have not oiled up the air cleaner on that. I still need to do that. So before, I want to test run this thing here in just a little bit. I'm going to get the tank back on it. And we have birds here called grackles, and they're noisy. Anyway, and they don't cooperate. I file complaints. And, you know, the bird Kevin says now, we don't care. So anyway, I'm going to get the tank back on here, put a little bit of fuel in it, make sure nothing's leaking, the bowl fills up, do all that kind of stuff. I want to test run it up here real quick, and if that all works, then I'll go ahead and oil this up. I'll set this down on the ground, and we'll set up and do a load test on it. We'll warm it up, and then again, this is 2,000 watts capable, and so I will hook probably an electric heater to it. It'll do 1,500 watts, so we can get up into the better than 80% capacity. We'll give it a go. So hang in there. Let's get you set up, and we'll move ahead here. Did end up putting 3 coats of the hammer-tone copper on the tank. Came out pretty good, but it's been sitting out here in the Texas sun for a few days, so all right, I need to get an alignment tool for that. Hang on. It's what I'm calling a drift pin. Could also call it a rusty old stabby thing, I suppose. Sometimes you just need to approach things in a menacing manner and then it cooperates. I don't have a torque value for these, so I think I'm going to take a best guess. That's just about perfect right there. All right, move you around. We'll hook up the gas tank here and see what we do next. I'm going to put a little bit of fuel in here. I got some nice fresh gas yesterday, some high octane stuff. I rinsed this tank out first, after I got the vinegar out of it, and I flushed it several times with water, and I flushed it with just a little bit of gasoline. This is showing about a half a tank now on this fuel level indicator. Nice shiny new cap. Ooh. Hopefully it doesn't need a vent because it didn't come with one. Here we go. Let's see if it floods over or leaks. Just going over it now, double checking everything. Breather tube is reconnected. Stepper motor's back in place. Got the ground hooked up here. Again, I will oil this foam air filter when I move it to the ground over here to test it, assuming we get that far. Wires are all connected back here on the inverter. Circuit breaker to circuit breaking. I'll just do a real quick check on the oil level. I know I changed oil and it was fine, but sometimes I'm a little paranoid about things like that. Plus I want to give that fuel bowl plenty of time to, it should be full by now. I just want to see if it's going to start leaking or not. Yep, we're good on oil. It looks like brand new oil. Ha! Imagine that. Fuel valve's nice and dry. Carburetor's, well, might be a little leak there. Let me see. Kill switch is in the on position. Should be ready to start. See what we got. Start on first pole. You gotta love it. Pretty sweet little generator. Alright, we'll get it finished up here and we'll set it out and do some actual endurance testing. Okay. Alright, so what we got is a super ultra modern electric heater over here. Okay, not really. It's probably something out of the 1960s or 70s. Anyway, it's got a high and low. On low, it should pull around 750 watts. On high, it should be about 1500. It's rated for 1500 watts. And I've got the thermostat set to max out on it, so we'll see how that works out. If I can pull a full 1500, that's about 75% of the rated capacity on the generator. We'll keep an eye on it with the kilowatt meter down here. I'm going to start it up. I'm going to let it run for a couple 3 minutes, let it get warmed up, and then I'll go ahead and put the heater on low, and we'll let that run for a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. And if everything's going okay, then I'll turn it up on high, let that run for a few minutes, maybe 5, and then I'll shut the heater down and let the engine cool down a little bit, and then we'll shut it down. That's the plan. Let's see how it goes. All right, yep, it was flooded. I gave it about 15 pulls, and it finally started. So that's where we're at. We're gonna let it warm up here a little bit. It sounds like after oiling that filter that it's trying to find its happy place. It's surging a little bit. It's starting to steady out though, sounds like. It's doing pretty steady at 120 volts, right on 60 hertz. Alright, I'm going to keep the heater on low. It's pretty steady. It's 119.4 volts, still 60 hertz. Actually pulling 1170 watts. It's 9.9 amps. Makes me think that this might not handle the high side of this, but we'll see. Alright, we're going to try a high side, see if it'll handle it. It actually only took it up to 1350. It's bouncing between 1350 and 1400. Still 119 volts and dead on 60 hertz. It's 11.5 amps. Seems to have leveled out about 1370 watts. Alright, this thing normally runs about 1.5 to 2 minutes after I shut off the fuel, and I'm going to shut the fuel off rather than use the kill switch, because that empties the bulb, and I don't know when I'll run this again. So I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to shut off the heater first and let it start to cool down. Then I'll turn off the fuel, and when it dies, otherwise we should be done. Definitely a successful project and a successful test. See how long it takes to die. Yeah, that's just pretty cool for a little 4-horse Honda clone. What is that? 135cc Honda clones, digitally controlled from the inverter. The inverter box is in charge of throttle control, idle, and so forth. I really like that it automatically has an eco mode where if it's not pulling any kind of load, it goes ahead and idles down to not very fast. So I might mess with some settings on there as far as idle. Where I found the idle set screw on there, I'm curious about. I think it could go even lower if it's actually not pulling a load. But I'll do that off camera. If there's any kind of updates, I'll throw it at the end here. But otherwise, we're going to call this one done, and I want to move on to the little Harbor Freight 2-cycle Stormcat. So thanks for watching.